All right, so today we're diving deep into the world of ANOM, this crazy FBI sting operation that basically turned the tables on global organized crime.
Yeah, it's a wild story.
It is. We've got articles, videos, a whole bunch of stuff to sort through. So
Yeah.
get ready because this is fascinating and kind of unsettling at the same time.
It really is. What we're talking about here is a seemingly simple tool that ended up being a masterclass in deception. And it brought down some serious criminal players.
It's like something out of a movie, right?
Totally.
But before we get to ANOM itself, we've got to understand its roots. And that takes us back to Phantom Secure. What can you tell us about that?
So Phantom Secure was like the precursor to ANOM. Basically, they took BlackBerry phones and modified them to create these untraceable communication devices. So no cameras, no GPS, no speakers, just a way to send messages using something called pretty good privacy, or PGP encryption.
Wait, hold on. PGP encryption.
Yeah.
Can you, break that down for us a little bit?
Sure. Imagine a message, like you're writing an email or a text, and it gets scrambled into this, unreadable code that only someone with the right key can unlock.
Got it.
That's PGP encryption.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to crack.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Phantom Secure offered this super secure communication. Who were they targeting? Who were they trying to sell this to?
So initially they were aiming for CEOs, celebrities, anyone who needed top-notch privacy.
Right.
But because the phones were, kind of easy to get a hold of, they attracted a different crowd.
Oh,
We're talking biker gangs, cartels, serious criminals.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, people who wanted to fly under the radar.
So the same features that appealed to high-profile individuals
Right.
also made it attractive to people involved in illegal activity.
Precisely.
Makes sense.
And one of those individuals, a guy nicknamed, get this, the Facebook gangster.
The Facebook gangster.
Huckin' Ake. Yeah, this guy was connected to a billion-dollar drug cartel. But he wasn't exactly hiding. He loved to show off his, lavish lifestyle on Facebook, basically posting evidence of his wealth for everyone to see.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and guess who was watching? The Australian police.
No way. Not smart.
Not a good move.
That's not a good move. Okay, but it sounds like it wasn't just the Facebook posts that got the attention of law enforcement. Didn't Phantom Secure have, a particular service that made them really appealing to criminals?
You're right. They had this feature where users could remotely delete incriminating messages.
Oh.
So they were helping criminals cover their tracks.
So they were actually facilitating
Yeah,
the criminal activity, not just, enabling private communication.
exactly. And the FBI was already onto them.
Oh.
They were investigating a drug smuggler named Owen Hansen who was using Phantom Secure phones.
Oh.
So this investigation, plus, Phantom Secure just blatantly breaking the law. It led to this joint operation with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police to take down the company and its founder, Vince Ramos.
Okay, so this is where things start to get really good. How did they catch this Vince Ramos guy?
They set a trap, lured him to the U.S.
No.
with the promise of big money deals from some important clients who were actually undercover agents.
Oh, wow.
They got him on video admitting he knew he was selling phones to criminals.
Ah.
And that was enough to arrest him.
Wow. So they basically played him at his own game.
Totally, yeah. But here's the catch. Even after they arrested Vince, they couldn't break Phantom Secure's encryption. They couldn't get in.
Really?
They hit a wall.
Oh, wow.
And that's where things get really interesting. This mysterious informant, only known as AFGU, approached the FBI with a tempting offer. He had something even better than a backdoor into Phantom Secure.
Okay.
He had ANOM.
All right, now we're getting to the good stuff. What exactly is ANOM?
Okay, picture a regular Google Pixel phone. Normal looking, even ran a custom operating system called Arcane OS. Pretty standard.
Right.
But hidden inside this phone
Okay.
was a messaging app
Yeah.
disguised as a calculator.
What?
And this app, well, it had a secret.
Okay, this is getting good. What was the secret?
Every message sent through this app was secretly copied and sent to the FBI.
Wow. So the criminals thought they were talking securely, but the FBI was reading everything.
Every word.
That's
It
brilliant.
was a Trojan horse of epic proportions.
So how did they get people to use it?
They gave free phones to influential criminals,
Oh,
figuring
yeah.
word of mouth would spread it through the criminal world. And they were right.
It's like a virus just spreading through the network.
Exactly.
So who are some of the key players who helped ANOM really take off?
One of the big ones was Domenico Catanzariti, an Australian criminal. He became a major distributor of ANOM phones.
Okay.
He helped it really get into the Australian drug market, which is, a big one.
I can imagine. I'm curious, though, didn't the FBI run into some legal issues
Oh, yeah.
trying to expand ANOM beyond Australia? I mean, were they worried about spying on innocent people?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Extending into Europe was a challenge. They needed a partner inside the EU to legally get access to communications data, and they found that partner in Lithuania.
Okay.
Lithuania agreed to host the FBI's servers.
Wow.
Which opened the floodgates to a massive amount of intelligence from European criminals using ANOM.
So that's a huge development.
It is.
But this partnership with Lithuania and ANOM spreading so fast, it has created some ethical dilemmas, right?
Absolutely, yeah. You're right to bring that up.
I mean, what about the people who got these phones for legitimate privacy reasons?
That's a key point. While ANOM was great at targeting criminals,
Sure.
the possibility of innocent people getting caught up in the surveillance is a real concern. It highlights the tricky ethics of this kind of operation.
So this is where things start to get really, really interesting. We've got the stage set, ANOM is spreading like wildfire, and the FBI is gathering all this intelligence globally. But I'm guessing this is just the beginning of the story, right?
Oh, yeah, you're right. The real drama unfolds when the FBI decides to pull the trigger on Operation Trojan Shield.
Okay.
The takedown of ANOM. And that is where we'll pick up in part 2 of our deep dive.
I can't wait. Okay, so last time we were talking about the FBI and how they have this amazing tool, ANOM, just infiltrating the criminal world.
Yeah, like a ticking time bomb.
Exactly. So when did that bomb go off? How did they pull it off?
June 8th, 2021. That was the day Operation Trojan Shield kicked into action.
Okay.
Think global takedown, a synchronized strike against organized crime, the likes of which we've never seen.
Okay, I am on the edge of my seat.
Arrests started in Australia under the cover of darkness, continued across Europe as the sun rose. It was truly global.
9,000 officers?
9,000 officers all working together.
That must have taken months of planning.
Oh, absolutely. The planning and coordination were immense. Secrecy was paramount. They couldn't tip anyone off.
Right, and it worked.
It did, yeah. They caught a lot of people off guard.
So what were the results? How much damage did they do to these criminal organizations?
The results were huge. Hundreds of arrests, tons of drugs, seized cocaine, marijuana, meth, weapons, millions in various currencies, countless operations disrupted. A major blow to organized crime worldwide.
Wow, that's incredible.
It was.
But you mentioned earlier some legal concerns about the FBI's involvement with ANOM, particularly when it came to U.S. citizens.
Right.
Did that become an issue?
Yeah, those concerns came back to bite them.
Yeah.
The FBI wasn't legally allowed to monitor Americans using ANOM.
Right.
So the question arose, could evidence from ANOM be used in U.S. courts?
Oh, that's a good point.
It turned into a huge legal battle. You've got the Fourth Amendment, protecting Americans from unreasonable searches and seizures, and some argue that ANOM violated that right.
So even though Operation Trojan Shield was a global success, the legal implications in the U.S. got complicated.
Very much so. And it wasn't just the U.S. Some courts in other countries, Germany for example, ruled that ANOM chats couldn't be used as the primary evidence in trials.
Really?
So some criminals, even those caught red-handed, might walk free because of the legal complexities around ANOM.
So this incredible success story also had some unintended consequences.
Absolutely.
Especially when it came to the legal system.
Yeah, and those consequences are still playing out. But beyond the legal battles, ANOM started a much larger conversation about privacy and security in this digital age we live in.
Right, okay. So why is ANOM so important in the context of this bigger debate?
Well, if law enforcement could get into and exploit a platform built for criminals to communicate.
Yeah.
What does it say about the future of encryption and privacy for regular people?
Right.
If criminals can be targeted this way, could anyone be?
Yeah, that's a scary thought.
ANOM really made us confront this tough question. Do the ends justify the means? Especially when those means involve potentially infringing on the privacy of innocent people.
It's a tough question with no easy answers.
Right. On one hand, ANOM was undeniably effective at disrupting criminal activity.
Sure.
But on the other hand, it showed just how vulnerable our digital lives are and raised concerns about government overreach.
So ANOM was successful in taking down criminals, but it also opened up a Pandora's box of ethical and legal questions that we're still grappling with today. What happened to all the main players after this? What became of Vince Ramos, the founder of Phantom Secure, or Hakan Ike, the Facebook gangster? And what about Afgu, the informant who made ANOM possible?
Those are great questions, and the answers are just as interesting. To uncover their fates and dive deeper into the lasting impact of ANOM, we'll need to move on to part 3 of our deep dive.
All right, welcome back to our deep dive on ANOM. So we've seen how this encrypted phone network took root in the criminal underworld, the massive operation that brought it down, and all the ethical and legal questions it raised. But what happened to the key players in this whole thing after the dust settled?
Well, let's start with Vince Ramos, the guy behind Phantom Secure. Remember, he was arrested in that crazy FBI sting operation, trying to escape to Canada.
Yeah, his escape attempt was almost as wild as the whole ANOM story itself. So what happened to him?
Well, Vince couldn't outrun the law.
Okay.
He was sentenced to 9 years in prison for helping criminals with Phantom Secure.
9 years? That's a long time.
Yeah, it was a clear message that law enforcement wasn't messing around.
Right. They wanted to make an example out of him.
Exactly.
What about Hakan Ike, the Facebook gangster? Did his social media posts finally catch up with him?
You know, they definitely played a role.
Yeah.
He actually managed to avoid capture for a while.
Oh, really?
He found refuge in Turkey, and they refused to extradite him to Australia.
Wow.
But eventually his luck ran out.
So he couldn't hide forever?
Nope.
What?
In a joint operation called Operation Cage, Turkish and Australian police finally caught up with him.
Wow.
He's now looking at a possible 20-year prison sentence for his part in that Aussie cartel.
From Facebook fame to facing decades behind bars.
Right.
It's a reminder that, especially in the digital world, anonymity is fleeting.
Yeah, it is.
Speaking of anonymity, what about that mysterious informant, Afgu?
Ah, Afgu.
Did we ever find out who he was?
His identity is still a secret. He vanished, protected by the FBI, and of course, well rewarded for his help.
Yeah, I bet.
He received $120,000 for his cooperation.
$120,000?
Yeah, not bad.
That's a nice chunk of change.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, what was his motivation?
Right, like a change of heart.
Yeah.
Revenge.
Maybe just a way out of a dangerous situation. We may never know the full story.
It's true. But one thing's for sure. His actions had a huge impact.
Yeah.
They shaped this whole investigation and sent shockwaves through the world of encrypted communication.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into ANOM, what are the biggest takeaways? It was a major win for law enforcement, but it also brought up some really tough issues.
It did. ANOM is a perfect example of how complex things are in the digital age.
Right.
It was a brilliant operation that disrupted criminal networks and gathered tons of intelligence.
Yeah.
But it also raised serious concerns about privacy, surveillance, and the potential for government overreach.
It's that whole ends justify the means dilemma, but with a lot of gray areas.
Exactly. ANOM forced us to ask some hard questions about the balance between security and freedom in a world where technology is constantly blurring the lines.
And that's what makes this story so fascinating. It's not just about cops and criminals. It's about the digital world we all live in and the choices we make in it. As we rely more and more on technology, these questions about privacy, security, and the role of law enforcement are only going to become more important.
You're absolutely right. The ANOM saga might be over, but the conversations it started are definitely not.
It's a story that should make us all think about the trade-offs we're making in the name of security and the kind of digital future we want.
Well said.
Well, that's about it for our deep dive into ANOM. Thanks for joining us. We hope it gave you a lot to think about.